another edition of the Salt City Index. My name is Mo Moodie, and like always, I'm here to bring influencers to the show. Now, the guests may not have the same opinions as me. They do not endorse me. I'm not endorsed by their organizations. They're not giving me any money for my campaign. This is a completely unbiased, neutral platform. Now, before I introduce our special guest today, I was at a Westcott neighborhood parade, and it was at the very end. It was not too long ago, and I was legitimately about to go home. And there was something about me that said, let me just talk to just one more person. I looked up, caught eyes with today's guest, and said, hey, there's something familiar. I walked over, introduced myself, found out that this individual is a massive activist shaker in the entire region. And you definitely want to hear what she has to say. So with my great honor, I'd like to introduce today's guest, Yvonne. Yvonne, you can just talk about whatever is top of mind, a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I am a Black single mother of 10. I've always lived here in Syracuse on the west side. I'm very into my kids' education. A lot of people in Syracuse know me from me being out there advocating for our rights and stuff like that. The biggest thing about me that people know me for is because November 4th, 2002, 7 white officers here in Syracuse killed my kids' father during a drug raid. And took me until January 12th of 2018 to prove it. I proved it on my own. I didn't have no organization help me. I didn't have, no lawyers, nothing. Nothing. I proved it on my own. So, that's a little about me. I got 7 daughters, 3 sons. They go from the age of 27 down to 10. I'm about to be a grandmother of 8. And I'm just somebody, just a regular citizen inside Syracuse who likes to help other people.
Mm-hmm. We definitely need more of that, helping each other. I feel like we're losing that in the community. I'm sorry, and thank you for sharing that about, your husband. But at least from your interactions and things, you have joined a couple different groups and been involved. And I met you at a table for Citizen Action of New York. Can you talk a little bit about that group and I guess kind of how did you get to that group in the first place? I'm just kind of curious.
So it's crazy because so Citizen Action of New York is a grassroots organization. It's nationwide. In New York, we have 8 chapters. We're working on bringing a chapter here to Syracuse because there used to be a chapter here in Syracuse, and then it dispersed. And I came into contact with them because there was a situation with an individual Black male over there on Liberty Street that I caught while I was going to the store. And I lived at the time across the street from Fraser School. So school started, I think, at 7:45. So it's about that time in the morning of this incident. So the fact that everything that they did to Eric, is minus the death, that they was still doing, and it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I was just like, enough is enough. So I looked for an organization that was outside of Onondaga, that I could get to come inside Onondaga, because sometimes. Sometimes, there's stuff blocking people from helping other people, little things.
Like little hurdles, things like that.
Yeah.
Logistical red tape stuff.
So they had a meeting coming up. It was online. It was on Zoom. So I joined them. It was one of the meeting I went to was ending mass incarceration. So that's one of their justice agenda would be ending mass incarceration.
Mass incarceration.
So I went on that Zoom, and I told him about some issues here inside Syracuse. And then I went to the next meeting on Zoom, and this all literally happened from 2 Januaries ago. Well, January last year.
January last year. Okay.
January last year. So from January of last year to my first event with Citizen Action, which was in February, they could see, like, we needed help, broadcasting our voices that we need help here in Syracuse. So I got with them, and then next thing you know, they started giving me the coach buses to fill up Syracuse and Onondaga residents to take them to Albany to go ahead and start advocating their voices. And then when I linked up with Citizen Action, and then that meant I linked up with Housing Justice for All, Vocal New York, Push Buffalo, 13 Forward, like the list goes on.
Goes on and on. Okay.
Every one of them groups calls me now, and they like, do you need a bus for Syracuse? And I'm like, yup. And so Citizen Action, they just put me in tune with everybody, and then they're like, and then what I didn't know is that they canvassed, they Googled my name, and they seen a few articles and stuff and everything, and in March of last year they gave me a shot.
Give you a chance.
And it is in Albany. So I think there was like 32 people that I filled on that coach bus. And it was kids, teenagers, from the hood, and community members. And we got on that bus, and none of the senators that covered Onondaga, none of the assembly members knew that we was coming. And we went there.
Surprise, we're here.
And I was the speaker for bail reform.
Okay.
And the reason, why we need to keep it and stuff. And everybody got a phone call that day talking about, some Syracuse City School District kids did an excellent job advocating for bail reform, child care, housing, how it all influences their household. And from that point, I've just been loving it ever since.
Just taking on a whole different trajectory in life.
It does. I tell everybody, the best organization is Citizen Action. I think we can all benefit from them. They lead us, and they put us into state lawmakers' faces, and they hear the constituents.
Well, it's important to have your voice be heard. It's very important.
It is, because I was a firm believer, for years, even after Eric's death, it was like, so I know my vote doesn't matter for presidents, because they're chosen by electoral. So why should I vote? So it wasn't until I got with Citizen Action that I learned the importance of voting, because at that point I learned what a senator and assembly member's real jobs are. And then, so.
No, voting is important, absolutely. It's such a crucial thing, especially in the, not that I'm biased, but like the smaller local, I'm running for a local office, but like the local ones, because those are the ones that really have the most direct impact in your day-to-day life in your immediate neighborhood. Of course, the grander federal and state have, influences, but sorry about your husband, Eric. That's it's unfortunate. I know it takes a lot to talk about it, but at least you're taking the situation. It seems like from that side, you're using it for positive and for good, and spreading awareness. Got involved with you in different groups. But I know I've spoken to you in the past, and you've been also very outspoken about like the current situation with like the jail and the corrections and like the merger. Any insight that you would like to share just from your point of view?
So tonight, there was a debate tonight, right? And they was asking the public's questions. So I put down the question, but they didn't read my question. And I really wanted them to go ahead, because the debate was between Ryan McMahon and Bill Kinney. So the question is that Onondaga County has a high population rate on probation. Doesn't matter if it's misdemeanor or felony. So what would the plan B for an overflow if Janesville gets shut down? And the reason why I ask that is because I'm on felony probation. Because what Ryan is projecting is that the overflows, there will be a contract between Onondaga and other counties to go ahead and house the overflow. So my issue would be if something happens to me inside another facility in a different county and I need medical treatment, how is my kid supposed to get there? If my daughter is there on an overflow at whatever county he contracts with, and she needs medical treatment, and like we'll say he contracts with Auburn, so we have to go to Auburn. So now they got her inside Auburn Hospital because whatever happened inside Auburn jail, she got sick or whatever, just for example. How do they want a parent like me who is on probation? And it's not only me, there's a lot of people who's on probation for tons of different reasons, okay? But how do they expect me to go ahead and call my probation officer at 9 o'clock at night to go ahead and go sign some, the DNR paperwork or, stuff like that, like immediate surgery and stuff. So closing Janesville, in my opinion, would be the most stupidest, dangerous thing to do for this county, both looking at it as an inmate-wise and looking at the safety of the deputies.
Because it goes both ways. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Like, we're all people.
So the Justice Center has one unit for females that house, I think there's like 55 or 56 cells inside the pod, right?
Right.
So I'm not bunkable, right? And honestly, I'm upfront about my whole anything about me, because this is the best way that our leaders can learn how to correct the issues, right? So if I'm not bunkable because of my charge, there's different reasons why people ain't bunkable.
You mean like bunkable as in, just for clarity for people back home, like you have to be in a, by yourself?
Yeah.
Right? You can't share a space?
Nope, I can't share a cell. So I could be not bunkable because of my mental health, because of my charge, or behavior, because you're in the box. So on a female unit, for the bottom tier, so you split the cells, 55, 56 cells, you split it in half, bottom tier, non-bunkable. So we'll say I violate. That means I'm taking up a whole entire cell by myself, right? So then if they violate 2 other people on probation, where are you going to put them at? Because you can't put them inside a cell with me or anybody on the bottom tier. The top tier, you can double bunk, and then you could bring in a boat. It's like a plastic day bed.
Yeah, it's like a makeshift.
So you can have that in, but literally the width of a bunk bed is the size of that cell. So if you have a bunk bed there and you have a toilet where you're sitting at in the sink, and is from this shelf to that end of that shelf,
probably about, yeah.
How do you fit 3 people into that one cell? And then with the stuff going on in their own cases and going on with their own life, parents probably going through CPS court, all sorts of stuff, right? How do you figure out 3 people is going to not lose their insanity inside that cell?
How can you keep the peace? Yeah. Well, look, there's been studies when, I'm not saying people are rats, but like I have a psychology background. Like if you put rats in a cage, in a very confined cage, they're totally normal and happy, they'll attack each other just because of the lack of space. So we see that for sure when it comes to human beings, not making an analogy of rats, but just the lack of space. I'm concerned about overcrowding because it's not good for anyone, people that are going through that situation, and it's not good for, for public safety, for, the sheriff's department as well. But there seems to be a lot of favor, for this, for this merger. I mean, but you've brought up other important aspects of it. I mean, please continue. Like, you have such great insight.
So, Janesville is one of three 3 facilities in New York State that allows a pregnant female to keep their baby with them for a year. So if you're in Janesville, you're mainly there to serve your county bid, which is 1 year, no more than 2 years, okay, which is a back-to-back. Or you're housed there because the Justice Center is filled. So they send out overflows to the Ville.
Right.
So if a mother is pregnant, let's say 2 months pregnant, she gets sentenced to do a year in the county. I think, because when I did my bid in 2016 to 2017, I bid it with a pregnant female. She had her baby. We're females. Many of us as mothers, so we're used to the crying at night. But a lot of us females is grateful that we see another female with their baby, because some of them females ain't got their kids. Then not only that, you ain't got to worry about no foster care money being dished out from like the county dishing out money for foster care, because the baby's inside the jail cell with the mother.
Yeah.
You ain't got to worry about mental health, trying to get the mother back on track from emotionally being detached from the baby and stuff and everything.
Separation from the child, yeah.
And then they also got some. Then when I was there, they have some of the low classification inmates. So Janesville actually has it's like a contract or whatever with Dunkin' Donuts, and some of the inmates actually leave Janesville in a day. They get transported to Dunkin' Donuts, go there, go work, and then they come back. They get to keep their paycheck. So you're actually transitioning them into being a productive citizen and everything.
Yeah.
And the biggest complaint, I don't know, because if I'm a deputy and I got 20 years in there, why you want to take away my seniority, my benefits, and everything else? That's what everybody is not understanding, because them deputies over there at Janesville, I'm totally against mass incarceration. However, I do see both views and everything. So with that being said, if I'm a deputy and I worked there at Janesville for 30 years, now you want to fire me and rehire me over there at the Justice Center?
It's not getting fired, it's resigned. But yes, but that's since they're losing the seniority. But yeah, it's, please continue. I'm sorry for interrupting.
It's getting fired because I don't want to leave Janesville, don't want to lose my rank, so you're going to fire me because you're going to close it. And then I would technically have to reapply, because that was the thing at the legislation meeting that I went to a couple months ago about the closing. I think that was in April. So, but they, in my opinion, I think they're trying to sell the land for the microchip factory. That's my opinion, because why would you close a county facility? Like, why would you close it? Like, now you got a contract, you're gonna pay Cayuga, Madison, Oneida just to house some county, Onondaga County inmates for a year or 2 years. For 2 years, if you're doing a back-to-back. So if I gotta do a back-to-back, that means money is leaving this county to go pay for me to be housed, we'll say at Auburn. And then if that CO put hands on me, I'm suing Auburn, and I'm suing Onondaga County, because no matter what, I'm still Onondaga County property. So if I'm pregnant and I lose my baby, anything happens to me inside any other county, no matter what, I'm sentenced to do a year, 2 years inside Onondaga County, their correctional facility. And if it means I gotta go to Auburn or whatever, Ryan and the county legislation has to understand that there's potential lawsuits for anybody who gets hurt being detained at any other facility. That's not Onondaga County.
That is a interesting point that you bring up. Very interesting.
And then not only that, but underneath our old house sheriff, just in the month of December, because sometimes, like I said, we go to Janesville as an overflow, right?
Overflow.
So if I'm over there waiting for my court day at the Ville, and you send me to Auburn because there's no room at the Justice Center, what is going to make you guarantee that I am going to be in that courtroom at the correct time if in December there was 23 people who missed their arraignments and the jail is 2 doors down from the Justice Center?
There's a lot of moving parts and logistics into it. I definitely enjoy your insight because you bring up points that are being raised from the community, and you're definitely at the forefront. Your finger is on the pulse, and I definitely want you to have your voice be heard.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else do you want to bring up about? It seemed like you were, I didn't want to stop you. Like you were going, I didn't mean to stop you.
The housing, so because I advocate for a lot of things. I advocate for ending mass incarceration, for housing, education, I don't know, food stamps, children division, everyone from CPS Commissioner Amy Cunningham straight down to Tony Davis, the school superintendent. Everybody knows me. I was actually looking on your other videos on YouTube. And this is very interesting because it started making me chuckle inside the car. So I noticed that you had Cliff as a guest.
Yes, Cliff Wright.
And why I started chuckling this is because when I tell people that I am literally the only one in Onondaga County that has ever proved that the Syracuse police use excessive force due to racial stuff, is because Cliff was actually my CRB judge. Found in my favor. And a lot of people don't know that.
Used to be my neighbor until his house burnt down, unfortunately. Yeah, Cliff's a great guy. Yeah, Cliff Ryan, yeah.
Just like Raynette. Raynette was CRB judge. And a lot of people, because when people hear me, if you don't know me or you don't know my story and you just hear me talk, if you really don't know anything about it, then you're just going to be like, that's just all hearsay and everything. Because I did my 58 sharing with the city, but it never escalated to the courts and everything. Because I feel like Syracuse does not have enough money to go ahead and pay me or my children for not only Eric's death, but everything else that we have incurred after, because we're outspoken about it. So I did win. For some reason, the city of Syracuse reopened up a notice of claim case that they denied way back in 2003. For whatever reason, they opened it up in 2018. I didn't refile because you denied my notice of claim in 2003, so why would I refile in 2018 when I know that the time frame, 90 days, file notice of the intent, notice of claim, and then a year and a half to go ahead and actually get it into the courts, do your 58 hearing, whatever and stuff. Yeah. The city has a lot of dark secrets, and a lot of people be like, you have to move on and everything because it's a new day and age, right? But sometimes you can't move on because the past is still affecting the future, right? For instance, we're going to use today. So when I did my check-in with my PO, she's always talk to your therapist about, what happened with Big Eric and stuff. And I had to literally tell her today, what do you want me to do? You want me to sit there and tell my therapist how I feel? That's going to be every day because at the end of the day, I may be sitting here in front of you on probation, but I am also a victim, and so ain't my kids. And our voices ain't being heard. And victims don't tend to recover until there's some type of accountability. So until Fitzpatrick holds them officers accountable, there is no recovery. And there's a lot of people who have had dealings with law enforcement to where they expect these people to move on. Oh, well, it's been 10 years since you got into any trouble and everything. Well, what happened 10 years ago had a trigger. That still is affecting and everything. And, and I say this because, and so I say that about my PO because at tonight's debate, Fitzpatrick was like, well, you should go ahead and vote for me because, you know, 2 cases. One is about the 11-year-old girl, but the second case that he was talking about, I just felt funny because you brought this black man here, and you're like, oh, well, he came to me a few years ago and about his case as a black guy who got convicted for rape, right? Mm. But now he's free and everything. And I'm just sitting there looking because I was in the bleachers and stuff. So I'm sitting there looking, and I'm like, this is so pathetic that you would actually think that this man, or even including me or anybody who has been wrongfully convicted for any charge, should be grateful that you freed us. Because in reality, when we go home, we still gonna be living in our past. You freed us, but you never apologized. They tend to look at us like you're a criminal, so you're always going to be a criminal, so there's no remorse, nothing like that and stuff. And they need to stop thinking like that because people change.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. I mean, it's can be very frustrating. Even if it's just a word, like you've never gotten like just a verbal sorry. There's no one's ever just never.
So Ben Walsh, me and him did a one-on-one 2 August, his second year. We did a one-on-one, we did a meeting, Maria Maldonado sat in on it. And Ben was like, it didn't happen on his watch. So, wow. But Ben's not understanding. Their actions of the past is still affecting the future. So even though it happened during Matt Driscoll's reign, the aftermath is happening during yours.
In his term, yeah.
They didn't even apologize when they altered my video.
What are you talking about? I mean, some people may not know.
Okay, so I'm also the only one who has ever gotten the inside of a booking tape from the Onondaga County Justice Center, too. So I got that in 2003. So I paid for that. I did a FOIA request. So I got the video of the inside of the booking. I got 82 pages of the investigation. I got, there was 5 sheets of photos. There was like 15 photos altogether. And I gave it all to the Citizen Review Board. So at the time, she's judged now, but Felicia Davis Pitts was CRB president when my kid's father died. So I gave everything I accumulated, I gave to her. So everything was there for Eric up until when they took Felicia out. And then that's when Stephanie Minor was mayor. So I came back from Virginia, and Felicia was gone from the CRB, and then there was somebody else before Joseph, before her. And so I'm like, you know, what's going on with the case? And that's what I do. I pop up every few years. What's going on with the case and everything else? Because I still haven't had no answer from 2003 all the way up until 2011. No answer. Even though I had my CRB hearing in 2005. Nobody gave me no answer or not, right? And then
you had your hearing, and then you didn't hear any result of what the outcome was until 2011?
Yep. And then that's when they was also saying that, that's when, at the time, they was also saying that Felicia wasn't running the CRB right. What it is that you had a black woman who was getting all the complaints, even from Janesville. Because Janesville complaints was going to her, too. And she had investigators after she left. I don't know, they stopped giving out the investigator, whatever with the CRB. But So, anyways, I popped up. I'm like, you know, whatever and everything. What's going on with the case? And then that's when I was told that they couldn't find Eric's case. So then Stephanie Minor was in the office, and I like calling out people's names because if anybody ever calls them, they will remember my conversations with them. So I asked Stephanie Minor and them, you know, like,
Wow.
where's Eric's case at? And then come to find out there was 5 cases that was taken from the CRB, and the comptroller's office was investigating the cases because they was like investigating Felicia because they was saying that Felicia wasn't doing her job, but she was doing her job. So need be, the 5 files popped up. Now, the 5 files that was missing was 4 black dead people and 1 white person that got beat up, but he's still alive, right? So next thing you know, in 2014, I ended up meeting Joseph Lipari, who ended up becoming CRB president next, or not 2014, 2013. So I meet him, and next thing you know, he finds a file. So now I'm like, well, where's the videotape? Where's the pictures? Like, I know, because I paid for this. So that means I went down to City Hall, and I gave my money, made them copy on a copier, sign my name. You guys want to notarize it, everything, and the stuff. So, you know, and then next thing you know, so we found the video. Joseph said, let me go ahead and put it on a DVD because it was VCR format inside 2002. So then after a couple...
VHS? I'm sorry.
Well, back then, because we was converting from VHS to DVD, right?
No, I'm just...
So the Justice Center was still operating. They was recording on VCR format and everything because the original case is VCR format. So they wanted to convert it to DVD format. So I was like, okay. So he was like, we're going to take it to Color Industrial Lab. So I said, fine. So then when it came back, we looked at it. So while we're looking at the computer, I said, hold on, because it's not looking right and everything. So then I'm like, you know, like get the VCR tape, like bring this out and everything. So needless to say, I have a VCR tape, the original copy, because I put in a notice of lawsuit to sue the city if they don't give me back my VCR tape because now it's altered. So I got my VCR tape back, and I have it, and on that VCR tape, you see the original video, which everybody knows that back then, VCR formats, like the chapter and stuff, was at the bottom left hand.
Yeah.
And then the DVD chapters in time was in the middle, like in the middle of the screen. Like, let's say chapter 1 and stuff, but it'll be in the middle. VCR down here, DVD up here. So on the first part of the video, you see the correct time and the date, nothing wrong. And then it goes like fast forward, and then it comes the same version of the first video. But the only difference is that they messed up. Because on the second version of the video is the one that they tried to leave on it solely. They tried to erase the first video, but they left it on. Because on the second one, it says the whole complete time up there. And that's the whole entire thing with Eric's case. Because you guys left that Justice Center at 9:06 p.m. with my kids' father. And then you guys went to Upstate Hospital and checked in at 10:15. So where did you take him? Because when he died John Doe. He was not allowed in that Justice Center because on the video, you see the nurse Tammy saying, due to the severity of his condition, he is not allowed to be in this Justice Center. So he didn't even get booked. Then here goes the most interesting part. So since I see that my video is altered, I'm like, okay, well, let me go ahead and call the police station. So I called the police station because in 2002, there was blood on Eric's clothes, so I told them to go ahead and burn them because I didn't want them. So I called there, and I'm like, just out of curiosity, do you guys still got his property, da-da-da. So at that point in February 2014, I find out that Eric's case is listed and is still listed currently in the Syracuse City Police Department as a homicide case. Now, if anybody knows anything about homicides and knows the law, that means that they got to keep everything for a homicide case. Even if they find and convict somebody for it, got to keep everything. So with that being said, they kept all Eric's clothes. So on that video, because he's moving at different angles, in handcuffs, over here, over there, this way, that way, everything, because he's inside pain, that like real severe pain. And that video is up there on Facebook, been up there on Facebook, Ben put it up there on Twitter. So if you see his white shirt, his gray shirt, because he had one shirt over his shoulders, his pants, it was November 4th, so they brought him to jail with his pants down to his Timbs. So that means his boxers are showing, everything, right? So if he's moving around and you don't see no footprints on his shirts, if you don't see no urine on his boxers, if you don't see any bloodstains on the back of his boxers, and then you hand me bags that are sealed by Syracuse police November 4th, 2002, and you give them to me February 28, 2018, and they got footprints on them, and they got urine stains on the front, and then they got the footprints on the boxers. So that means that you guys took him somewhere after that jail, and you guys did whatever to him, and you brought him to upstate a whole hour and 9 minutes later, and then he died. Then in the medical report, because my daughter's got of age, so I said, you guys can go ahead and go get your father's, because I want to see the in-depth medical report. Not no discharge paper. I want to see where the nurses write the side notes, like patient threw up, like, you know, like all them, like patient disoriented or not compliant and stuff. I want to see everything. So we did that. So in those, you see Lieutenant Roswood, because a social worker. Now, mind you, Eric did not get identified until November 5th at 11:30 the next morning. He died John Doe, literally. Mr. X is what his discharge is what his paperwork says. Mr. X, and then they crossed it out with it's typed Mr. X, and then it's crossed out with a pen, and then it's handwritten his name, because we ID'd him the next day. Mind you, they had his mother in jail because she also got arrested that night. And they had her, so while all this is going on, they didn't tell her son was dead. Dr. Detective Ann Rather's report says that she questioned Nancy Mendoza if her son had heart problems. Nothing in there further stating if she advised Nancy his son is dead. And that report was done 2 hours after Eric died. So we're thinking that Eric is downtown, and even if the detectives did say, because they did, they said they was going to bring him to the hospital, right? You didn't tell his mother, and we're all thinking that he's there at the hospital, right? So, but we're not thinking nothing of it. We're thinking like he's downtown at the jail because ain't nobody calling. So then what happens is that Eric ends up having, he's alert when he gets brought there. Dr. Elliot Rodriguez, which he's still a doctor at Upstate Emergency Room, still currently working. He said that Eric told him that the police beat him up and that his rectum hurt because the police, what they do when they do drug raids or they do the searches is that they take their 2 fingers and they put it up they rectums. Or they take their sticks and they put them up there and they went a little bit too far in my kid's father's rectum, which is why he was denied entry into that jail. So then the social worker, in the paperwork from the hospital, you see the social worker, I don't know if she still works there or not, but she's like, she tells Lieutenant Roswood from Syracuse Police Department, it's her handwriting, so I don't think no doctors, nurses, or social workers who have ever been employed at Upstate or any hospital would sit there and lie no matter what predicament the patient came in, whatever, you know. So Lieutenant Roswood, in the paperwork from the hospital, you see the social worker, in the paperwork from the hospital, you see the social worker, she's like, she tells Lieutenant Roswood from Syracuse Police Department, it's her handwriting, so I don't think no doctors, nurses, or social workers who have ever been employed at Upstate or any hospital would sit there and lie no matter what predicament the patient came in, whatever, you know. So she told Lieutenant Roswood that the hospital was getting phone calls from family and friends threatening them about the patient. And that Lieutenant Roswood said that he will go ahead and notify, that he will handle the situation and that he would notify the next of kin in a timely manner. And she underlined timely manner, like 3 or 4 times it's underlined, right? So Eric dies, the bag and tag is closed, preserve it, like, and then his mother gets arraigned. Judge McKinney comes in at 7:15 and arraigns her in the morning and tells her to go find her son.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we still didn't know Eric was dead. So then I find out, so now I go over on Temple, like I find out that the house got raided. So I go over on Temple. And that's when people were like, oh, Yvonne, and then this is like not even 8 o'clock in the morning. So then at this time, this is when the courthouse was still inside the PSB. So then we go to the PSB. There was 3 other people that was arrested with Eric. It was his mom, Dre, Quantrell, and Bolo. And so we go, so the jail didn't have Eric. So then we start calling all the hospitals. All the hospitals didn't have Eric. We wasn't thinking about no John Doe.
Oh, man.
So then we go, so I'm like, so we go down there for arraignment. And his mother's out at this time. And then they give all 3 other parties, you know, a bail, or they detain them. So they couldn't get released that day. So then after that, we go up there to Upstate Hospital. And if it wasn't for the fact that there's this black janitor, like maintenance dude, whatever, he was cleaning. So Eric goes, he has a distinctive, because he's 6, you know, he was 6'3", and he weighed 320 on the autopsy table. So he was a big guy.
Yeah.
So we was there at the desk asking the emergency room, like, did anybody come in? So when we was describing them, that's when the black guy was like, y'all need to go look at the morgue. I worked a double. That description was here last night. So we walked down the street, and that's how we found Eric.
That's how you found out. I can't even imagine what you're feeling and what you've gone through, what you're currently going through. And I know it's a lot to just open up and share. So thank you.
No problem. So, like I said, no organizations helped me, right? The lack of community support is real short here inside Syracuse. So when they think just because you're being accused of something, that it's all right for people to go ahead and disrespect you, and that the community is not supposed to stand behind what went wrong. So Fitzpatrick has a half-page investigation into this that he turned over to the Citizen Review Board. Half-page investigation. And my issue with this is that Bill went to the news and he said that, oh, Eric swallowed drugs. So I say this because, all right, Eric sold drugs. Let's just be realistic, he sold drugs. Why would a drug dealer leave 3.5 grams of dope on the couch next to him and take a dime out of that dope and wrap it up inside a baggie and stick the dime up his rectum or swallow it? There's 2 versions that the DA's office has been given. I don't know any drug dealer.
I mean, I don't know drug dealers. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in the Glenwood, the Wood, the projects, and that doesn't make sense to me. From that narrative. That doesn't really align, but okay.
So in the 82 pages statements, the point of entry happening, this is by the detectives, their own statements. So if your point of entry is at 8:20 at night and you're saying that you had the suspect, Guerrero, in handcuffs within 30 seconds. So you made point of entry. The guy is 6'3", weighs 320. So you're saying you've seen him on the coffee table playing the game. So his pant size was a 48. So a guy that big is going to be able to go ahead and unbuckle his pants, which at the time, the Army belt.
Yeah,
so
it wasn't an easy belt. Yeah, it's not easy belt.
Right, so
yeah.
he had that. Those were the kind that they was wearing at the time. So he going to unbutton that, unbelt that, then unbutton, unzip his pants, take the dope, take out a dime, put the other dope back inside the bag. Put this dime of dope, which is only like about this big, put down in a baggie, stick it up his rectum, put up his boxers, put everything else back intact, and take off running, all in 30 seconds.
Doesn't really make sense to me.
Right, so everything that happened to him reflects me and my kids now because we're outspoken. So when I tell people that there's no way where anybody who is a victim, and I don't care what they ever done inside their life, if they're a victim and that chapter has never been rectified, that chapter can never be closed. This county has, I don't know, so many drug addicts inside this county, it's not even funny.
There is a drug problem there.
But you're feeding them subs. So when I go do my therapy, I go to Helio, which is an outpatient clinic for drug usage and for mental health and everything. I go to Helio because I don't like starting my whole entire life story all over. Am I a drug addict? Have I ever did drugs? Nope. Everybody in Syracuse, New York knows that. Did I have a daughter addicted to drugs? Yup. And I sat here and I watched this county not help me at all. You know she got a drug problem. You know her kids are over here. I don't feel like doing a whole entire CPS report on her. I don't feel like we should, like, I shouldn't have to go that route. Why do I need to put my daughter and my grandkids inside the system? Why can't you just write out a letter saying, like, the grandkids is living with the mom? Yeah. Why are you forcing them to be part of the system that you're never going to help?
Would you
my
feel like
daughter is a recovering drug addict, not because of this county. No, she left the state. She left the state and she went down there to Atlanta and came back, and she's been clean off the drugs ever since April. And there's so many triggers around here and so many programs that was made, like, before I was even born, before, like, my dad could even sit there and even possibly vote. Like, you guys are working off programs that was established in 1960, in 1962, 1965, but was revised in 1976, revised again in 1980. If that revised didn't work for me, it ain't gonna work for my kids. It ain't gonna work for the grandkids.
Would you feel like this whole situation is kind of like what got you into, like, being outspoken and being a part of, like, seeing citizens action, and just other groups in general and connecting?
Nope. What made me, I was outspoken before Big Eric, so it was school. It was school.
School.
So before the situation with Big Eric, I was out here running my mouth about school because, like I said, I'm a mother of 10, so 5 of my kids is special ed. So at the time, Jonita and Devontae and Sabrina was there. So I had 2 in special ed. And that's what took me over because
It's kind of why I'm running. I was part of the Meacham PTO, school. What triggered me to get involved.
well, I was involved inside of schools like that and everything, but more so it's I get put inside a situation. So I look up the law and I define it and the circumstances, like other circumstances pertaining to it. So I started advocating for education because a lot of parents kept coming up to me. Sometimes people, we have conversations at home like, this ain't right, they're doing this wrong, or they ain't got this for my kid, but they don't want to go ahead and tell the principal. They don't want to talk, they don't want to go to school board. They don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I have no problem telling somebody how to do their job. You apply for that position, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't like my attitude coming here, then you need to go ahead and rectify how you doing your situation, because then you got people coming to me. As long as they come to me, I'm going to sit there and keep coming to you.
Yeah.
And that's what took it off, is the education part. That's when they was closing Percy Hills. Actually, that's when Senator DeFrancis, that's when he was senator.
Well, we're coming to the end of our time, for the show. You've opened up a lot, and I thank you for that. It takes a lot of strength and courage to talk about it, but I felt it was important to have you, here. Your story and your voice, even though I wish it was unique, it's unfortunately not. We hear similar things like this all the time, and there needs to be change. And the change starts when we start having these open, conversations. But I still think that you're an influencer in the area, and I'm very grateful that you agreed to, to be on the show. But before we break, just really quickly, was there anything else that you wanted to potentially talk about, or anything else that's relevant before we come to a close?
They need to fix the housing crisis here.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us went homeless because it was so I went to court for holdover. It was not for non-payment. It was strictly for holdover because I found out that my house was one of the houses that John Kagan owned, and that Leticia James, our New York State Attorney General, sued, and she got close to $1 million. And she gave the city $215,000. So I went homeless because I had a teenage daughter that was living with me. She had a baby, but she was pregnant at the time. So when I go to court and I sit there and tell a judge that, no matter what, my rent was paid because I did ERAP payments because I go to Albany all the time. So I knew how much Kathy was giving to each county. So the ERAP payments were supposed to help us for our back rent. Kathy got it from the government, and then she allowed each county to be in charge of dispersing the back rent. Mm-hmm. So when I went in front of Vanessa Bogan, Judge Vanessa Bogan, if people start opening up and talking more, they will start listening. So I'm like, no, Judge Bogan, I did 2 ERAP payments. I did a lot of people inside Syracuse ERAP payments, and not only that, but her National Grid stuff too. Yeah. And everything. So we broke for recess. She had them research to see who paid for the rent. Mm-hmm. And then we came back, and then she was like, the Sarah Foundation paid DSS to get my rent paid. So I looked at our judge, and I was like, Sarah Foundation. And then, so it's a nonprofit. Yeah. So then I told her, I said, the ERAP payments came with specific federal guidelines that protected renters. So we have a county executive who took our federal funds It made a Sarah Foundation to pay for DSS recipients or emergency DSS recipients, which would be like back pay, right? Mm-hmm. And you left us without any protection because the ERAP payment meant that nobody was to be taken to court for another 12 months. So if you're my landlord and I did an ERAP payment, you can't take me to court for another 12 months. But since it said the Sarah Foundation, that means that left us with no protection. Mm-hmm. No protection whatsoever. Then it got me to wondering. There's a lot of people, so when I did their ERAP payments, so I knew like the first round I did it, the second round I was like, nah, let me go ahead and do it, you know what I'm saying? Let me do whatever I'm talking to homegirl, let me go ahead and do your thing because she just gave us more money. I just came back from Albany. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then the one particular person, she was like, I got a denial letter.
Okay. What for?
Because there was no more funding. So where did all that funding go that Kathy gave to you? And who is the Sarah Foundation? There's no nonprofits that pays welfare recipients rent. They don't even pay, if you needed an emergency rent, you're 2 months behind, mm-hmm. A nonprofit is not going to pay. Catholic charities, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But the Sarah Foundation, no. Catholic charity gets its own funding from, you know what I'm saying?
The self-funding. Yeah.
So what nonprofit pay for these? And I'm serious. Where's the money at?
Good question.
No,
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it.
I was looking at him tonight when he was up there at the podium. Like he's like, oh my God, this man. He is just so. He was like, oh, we need this because Bill King, he's not a fan of the aquarium. He thinks that $85 million is going to be spent on something else, which it can.
That's Bill's opinion.
So,
yeah.
Brian's like, well, we need it so that way we can promote tourism. First of all, there's nothing here for us to do. There is nothing here inside Syracuse for their own residents to sit there and do. Nothing. If I want to go to the beach, I live in Richmond. How am I going to get to the beach? Seriously. I go to Rochester, I can get on the city bus and go to a beach. Here, I can't go to the beach. I can't take my kids. We can't go relax for a day and go to some enjoyment. Half of the stuff here inside this county is so far away. Not everybody got cars. I got 10 kids. I ain't got no car. So the only time I go to the beach is when I sit there and I got to break down the ride, and that's too much. You know what I'm saying? We don't have nothing. We got one Boys and Girls Club over there on the west side. They took out the other one. That one's over on Shawnee. They took off the one over on Hamilton. They sold that. That's now called Tip Hill Community Center. My kids ain't going to there. It's Tip Hill Community Center. It's not directed for kids like them. There's absolutely nothing here. So for Ryan to even get up there and say, oh, well, we got a zoo. Boy, half of the people that go to the zoo is because we get a lot of tickets from like county employees, CPS, here to take your kids there, school districts, here to take your kids here, pre-K, here to take your kids here. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you feel because we got a baseball stadium. What was this list? Baseball stadium, the zoo, and one other thing. He feels like we should have the aquarium here. Is where he feels. And that's not even right. And it's not right because you got parents like me who I paid my rent. Mm-hmm. I don't have a house because it was lead infested and they forgot to tell me while living there for 4 years, hey, by the way, you're one of the houses that we got all this money for to remediate, and by the way, we got the money last year but forgot to come remediate your house and everything for the past, 16, 18 months that they've been saying with the money. He didn't pay for my hotel room. I work at Amazon. They give us our pay for what we work for them hours. Yeah. And there's 5 of us females, mothers who work over there at Amazon that literally pay for the hotel room out of our daily paychecks, like, and that's crazy. They want us to use these, like, why? Why do I need to go to a shelter? Why? That family whose baby, why did they even die? Why? Why? So they didn't want to go to the shelter. They don't have to go to the shelter. There should be other options. You guys got the money. So you're going to pay for an $80 hotel room out there at Carrier Circle. And then the one day when you came, the day that you came to the event for the family that I did, the one lady that was standing off to the side, she is another homeless mother who works with me at Amazon, who literally is having issues with getting transportation out there to Carrier Circle from the school district. Like, it's so crazy right now with housing that is like, my kid, I just got transportation from Calvin, like, literally set up, like, as of last Tuesday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. And that was after battling with the school district for 3 weeks. And like 3 weeks of me using the McKinley-Vento. Like, there's over 1,500 families, not kids, but families.
Families, yeah.
Using the McKinley-Vento. So the process is they get transportation within 3 days. Why is it that my kid took 3 weeks to get transportation? And then my 2 high school kids don't even got the Central put on their school ID to even get on the Central. So now I'm paying not even for the hotel room out of pocket, but I'm paying for them stupid lifts so that way they can get to school on time, or I'm paying for the bus ticket, like the bus freaking things out of pocket. And then you gotta consider, everybody got their phones. Everybody's phone's gotta be on. Everybody's phone has got to be on. Because there's not one location for everybody to go to. It's just, it's complete mess. And then inside their eyes is like, homeless is you living out on the street. No, it's not. I'm homeless. And I'm like one of the biggest influence here inside Syracuse, Onondaga County. And I got kids inside 3 different locations. I got a school district saying, oh, Yvonne, it's funny. We thought it's funny that there's 3 addresses. No, homegirl, at the end of the day, everybody don't stay with the family, with one family. You got a mom who might sit there and send a kid over here because this one got 5 kids of its own and everything, and they can only fit you and the baby over here. So now you got the son over here, the daughter's over there at the father's house. They don't think about stuff like that, and then they want to sit there, and then they like, oh, but you're that angry black woman. No, I'm not. What I am is someone who's angry because my daughter was just recognized by the Kappa, I forget the whole entire name, but it's the black sorority up there at SU. She was recognized inside June because she made high honor roll straight for 7th and 8th grade without taking no breaks. Like, my daughter's just, she's like the good child. She's like one of the good child. But for her to miss so many days, because she's now a 9th grader over there at Fowler, so it's a new complete setting and everything, it's going to mess up her academics. They got school like, you guys want my kids over, so she catches the bus from the east side over on East Fayette, so you got my daughter catching the bus out there. The whole sex offender lives over there on Fenway. 6:25 in the morning, you guys got my daughter out there wanting to catch this bus, just go down there to the hub, just to go to school. Meanwhile, on her mind is, where's she gonna stay at that night?
Yeah.
Where's my sisters? Where's my brothers? Where's mom at? What's the plans for that? You know what I'm saying? On top, and they don't think of that. Like, I don't know.
And then still have to perform well in school and be present and be
right. And then they want to sit there and you know, well, you gotta get to school on time, or you can come and ask me for help. This is the biggest thing, and this is like this is why black people don't go ask for help, because in no way, shape, or form. They're like, we're trying to help you, Yvonne. No, do your job. You applied to be a secretary, file the paperwork. You apply to be a social worker. But the McKinley family win. Call transportation. Personal transportation. It's your job to go ahead and get the van started. Why is it when people like me sit there and speak out, or people from the community say, can you go ahead and call on our behalf? Why is it that we always got, I'm not angry. I wouldn't have to even be calling you guys if nobody was calling me. Or if you guys wasn't doing it to me and my kids. And that's what their problem is. And I don't care, because there's a lot of people here inside Syracuse, from Matt Driscoll, all the way to Stephanie Minor, all the way to Rick Trumfield, who's SU professor, who signed off on, and that's the biggest thing. So I asked for a copy of, and correct me if I'm wrong. If it's a homicide case, they got to keep everything. So I asked them, because it's Bill's election year.
Yeah. So
I asked for a copy of the property release, because the DA has to sign off on it. And then we give it to the police department, so the DA has to. So they emailed me back. There's no trace of that at all.
There's a lot of struggles, a lot of things going on here in the county, a lot of things going on within the city. And it takes a lot of strength to put a spotlight on it. It takes even bigger courage and in person to survive it and go through it. So even though I hate stopping you, like, we're kind of out of time, and I just want to run over and give you a hug, but I'm scared that you might punch me. I'm joking. But I'm grateful for you being on my show. Well, more like our show, you know what I mean? Like, this episode's our show, and love to maybe have you on the show again. I almost feel like there's more to talk about. There's more. I never experienced so much in one time. But not. Let me take that back. I have experienced a lot of this. I've been through a lot of struggles myself. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had to fight for everything that I've gotten. And a lot of my friends are also still struggling, and we're all struggling. We're all going through it. And one of the things I would love to see is just change, and part of it is just talking to each other. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
And everybody vote, because your voice matters.
Yes.